The other thing that we can you can find out about it is Rudolf Steiner, who is one of my heroes. 1920s Germany, you know, the kind of the attitudes of the time were moving into the modern age, and he was kind of a, you know, kind of a Luddite in a way. He was very much opposed to some of the modern practices of agriculture that were coming on. So he developed the concept of biodynamic gardening. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a step beyond organic. It's like a very, very intensive way of taking care of the soil and the earth. And dandelion leaves are used as part of composting for providing nutrients to the other vegetables and fruit that are grown in that manner. He also, of course, Rudolf Steiner was also the developer of a form of education that later became the Waldorf School, which is another very interesting modality, because one of the things, and I'm not an expert on Waldorf schooling, but the fact that for very few, in the early years, some of the things that are taught to the children are learning about their mythologies, so that they have a sense of self, and not forcing children to learn to read too early, because it was believed that that may be one of the problems why so many children are having problems in the school systems, is forcing them to learn to read before their time. But anyways, so the root itself is one of the great medicines, not only for its healthy content of inulin, but it's also great for the ability to promote the production and the movement of bile from the gallbladder. This is no small matter. In fact, the bile in our body keeps the bowel antiseptic, but it is also the very natural lubricant that keeps the bowel moving, the stool moving well in the bowel. And so many cases of obstinate constipation may be traced back simply to lack of bile flow or sufficient bile flow. And the recycling of that bile, extremely critical, not only for, you know, ease of congestion of the bowel system, but also the fact that it breaks down fats to fatty acids. Fatty acids produce fuel, energy, but also make hormones. Without fats, you couldn't have hormones. And so these low-fat diets, as we know, are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, low-fat doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, no fat, you'll die. It is well known that you'll die. Dandelion leaves, as I mentioned, they're very useful for removing excessive water, reducing hypertension, but also very useful in reducing leg cramping and nighttime spasming and cramping of legs. You know, they now call it a syndrome. It's now a restless leg syndrome, and you have to get a pill for that, I guess. I don't know, but people will find that if they actually would help with just dandelion leaf tea would be extremely beneficial for them. It also is very good for the lymphatic system, which was spoken about earlier, that reducing lymphatic congestion of the neck or under the arms or in the groin area. The leaf juice of dandelion is extremely useful for a number of different fungi and mycobacterium such as tuberculosis, and in fact for a number of different conditions where there is a need for an effective antibiotic in stopping the progress of tuberculosis. It has a number of interesting calcium potassium salts in there that are extremely useful for disinfecting and also making it harder for the bacilli to stay in the lungs. And having had tuberculosis as a young child, I get the importance of that. And in fact, some of the virulent strains are coming back, and we should be vigilant against this kind of thing. But anyways, there's a lot of uses. I could go on about a number of the uses of the dandelion as a food. In fact, even the flower itself contains rich amounts of lutein. Now, lutein, L-U-T-E-I-N, is a compound. It's one of the vitamin A's. It's a carotenoid that is extremely useful for eye health. You'll notice now that even Centrum has lutein in it. So I mean, by the time Centrum gets around to putting something in it, it obviously is well proven. And but the fact that lutein is right in the flowers of dandelion, it is very useful to just eat them. I mean, when I was younger, we used to make wine of them. I don't know if you've ever heard of dandelion flower wine. The one key to making it is make sure that you pull off the green part of the calyx, so you just have yellow. Otherwise, you'll have too bitter a wine when you make that. It is also extremely useful root for eczema. And for that purpose, particularly dry eczemas, it combines well with licorice root or another favorite herb of mine called Oregon grape root, which grows to the west of us here. And that can be one of the great cleansers for chronic problems associated with eczema. Because the skin problem really isn't the skin problem. The naturopathic medicine, they often call the skin the third kidney. Because whatever the liver's not clearing, whatever the kidney's not clearing, the skin is going to end up with the task of doing. But the dandelion is more than just for physical problems. As I mentioned, I could go on and on. The root is quite, the literature is quite extensive in terms of its use, particularly for some various cancers, particularly breast cancer. The other thing that the flower is very useful for, and something that you might want to make for yourself in the spring, is collect the flowers up, the flower heads, and then put 5 parts of oil to 1 part of flowers into a crock pot and set that at a really low temperature. And let's do that for about 8 hours. And then strain it. And you'll have what would be called dandelion flower oil. And this oil is phenomenal for neck, shoulder pain, congestion of the neck and shoulders, where there is, tension. How many people hold their tension in their neck and shoulders? Like everyone. And it also very useful for arthritic conditions of the knees and elbows. And body workers who do work, a lot of work with muscles, will find that dandelion flower oil added into their mixture that they're using for massage, they'll get much more effective deep tissue work done. So that's something that you can certainly look at. Flower essences. Dandelions are used as a flower essence, which is basically taking the petals and putting them on a bowl of pure water in a crystal bowl for 4 hours in the sun. Flower essences are a vibrational remedy that is associated with internal ingestion, small drops under the tongue when prepared properly. And that again, that flower essence is very useful for some of the muscular tension and tightness that I was talking about, helping basically your body release tension. And when anyone's experiencing constriction in their body, dandelion flower essence will help to alleviate that particular aspect. It also has spiritual properties. I always like to think of plants in terms of their energetics related to people. And we all have our own spiritual belief systems. We all have our own particular pattern in the world that we're following. And dandelion has spiritual properties. Again, one of the interesting signatures of the flower essence is that it starts out very dense, and then it comes up the stem, and then the flowers, whatever. And it's basically like an upside down person when you think of it, because the flower is actually the reproductive part, right? If you turn it upside down, then you get the head and you get a body, and actually if you pull the whole thing out, it looks like a body. It looks kind of like a human body. And it has a representation that really is about finding our way on the earth and finding a way for us to be connected and grounded, which I think is very difficult in urban settings. Living in the city for a long period of time, I find I have to get into a little ravine that's close by our home. And I go down there for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden I go, "Ooh, here's my cathedral." You know, and I really need to do that on some regular basis when I live in the city, because otherwise the energy is almost too scattered for me. The other key word, I think, for dandelion is integrity. I mean, it's very adaptable, and it seems to enhance the other plants that it's used with. It is a powerful cleanser on all levels, and metaphysically it really helps, I think, to bring a lot of clarity of vision and focus and determination into lives. It has a personality, just like we all have personalities too. And one of the personalities, Pam Montgomery, who is a great herbalist from Vermont, I'll read what she said about it, because she says it better than I ever could. Dandelion is a survivor, helping you to persevere against all odds. A kick-butt dude in combat boots may have come to you in a dream, or maybe a chatty, high-powered workaholic executive, both of whom exude strength and self-confidence. You may feel the vibration of dandelion in the gut as an intense throb, or perhaps a high C quiver, depending on the resonance you create together as your fields emerge. And yeah, it is a powerful warrior. I think dandelion is one of those. That's one of the reasons I like it as a herb, is it just has that. And of course, the yellow color is obvious. The yellow flower is all about our solar plexus, which is trusting our intuition, our connection between our mind and our digestion and our stomach, taking things in, thinking about things. And so it has a lot of things to offer. It even, you know, if you go into the literature, many of the myths and legends about dandelion through the ages, trying to portray and exhibit some of the historic values that are placed on plants. Dandelion always had a place there that is associated with the sun and sunny dispositions and carrying on. And I'm just going to end here with a little poem that was written by Sylvia Chateau, who is a medical doctor in California that I've corresponded with, and we've shared and traded books and things. And she wrote this little poem about dandelion, which I think is an appropriate way to end. On any lawn, you're apt to find a weed that grows called dandelion. Its roots and leaves are known to cure, to heal the liver, make blood pure. And it is true that taraxacum is also full of potassium. In case you need to diurese, it's powerful and works with ease. It will not leave you all replete of minerals. It is replete. So should your liver start to fail, if you've got a case of flatulence, a loss of appetite perchance, the bitter herb from root and leaf will surely bring you some relief. Improve digestion, stimulate, relieve congestion, eliminate. Kidneys, liver, stomach, spleen, this common weed does wonders keen. The bitter cool of root and herb will make your system work superb. Thank you very much.